Oh no.
There
here
we
we
go.
go.
Live streamed.
Hi everyone. This is Sandy with Cindy Harrison Art and Artfully Connected with Cindy Harrison and Artful Webinars. Tonight, I'm so glad you're here to join us with Lydia Steeves. And let's see, let me get Lydia up on the screen so y'all can see her. There she is.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Miss Lydia. What do you have for us tonight?
We are going to have a lot of fun tonight with colors. Yeah, so we're going to do this in soft pastel. And for the most part, it's with the 24 pack of the new pastels. However, you know, especially for the people who bought the Unisons or the Rembrandts or those extra power pastels, we're going to have another opportunity to use them. I used the yellow and the orange one for this, and that's the real nice rich color that you see there. So that's what we're going to do. And then the next month, we're going to do one. Which one are we doing? We're going to do this guy. So this is acrylic, and this will be how to do fur with filbert grainer, and I'll go through my whole technique. And so the acrylic people can get a little something in there too. Now I have on the same page where you purchase the packet, if you are planning on doing this, I have done a prep video for you. So if you just go to my website or just ask me for the link too. You can always email me for a link and I can pop you over there where you buy the packet. You'll see a prep video because there's actually a fair bit to do, especially if you have a tree. If you don't have a tree, no worries. Just do one. I got it all done. And I actually am going to add in Itsy, but I am just going to be demoing Gunther. Is his name. So that's what's
Gunther.
Gunther's the best. Gunther, Natalie, and Nimbus, I believe those ones all are. So that'll be nice. And then people can go off and do a single like that, or they could do all three of them and the mouse if they have the big tree. I don't know what everybody's got out there, but that
wonderful.
That should be lots of fun too. And
well, I'm so glad you're here tonight.
Yeah, that's it for Watch, Learn, Creates for me for the year. Can you believe we're saying that already?
I know. I can't believe we're in the last quarter of the year. It's just gone by so fast, but we've had such great fun.
Yeah, we have had lots of things. So still a couple. Is the spooktacular thing all finished up now?
It is. We finished that on September 30th, and they are still available for replay on Guide 7, I think, 7 or 8. I don't remember exactly which one, but yes.
One of those.
So we're into the last few for the year, and I'll update us at the end with what's coming up since I don't have my calendar in front of me at the moment, but we do have a few more for the rest of the year, and they're going to be great fun. So okay, are we ready to jump in?
We could be ready. Okay, so you will put up my other camera.
I will do that right now, and I will take me off.
Stop that one.
Okay. Get to remove that one. Oh, okay. And I need to remove.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, we are going to start off with violet. And we're going to pop in a few purple patches. It doesn't super matter where you put them. I mean, it's going to be a black thing. And when you do a black animal or whatever, you just have you can put a lot of these other colors in there. Okay, so I'm just using the side of the pastel and putting in some purple. All the way down there. Let's see, where else you want to put it? Maybe a little bit here. Like I say, we're going to put some of the, we're going to put some really super fun colors in here and there, some blues and some purples, etc. And then we're going to bring it to black. That's the plan. So here is the body. There is the shoulder piece. So maybe a little bit more in some spots, a little bit less in others. So even though I'm using the side of the pastel, I'm kind of using just this piece here for when I want to have a little bit more control. That might be it. Let's just put another patch in there, just because. Pastel is pretty fun. So you do want to have a lot of blending, some colors where you don't think they should be and that sort of thing. And now the eye. So it just says use one of the browns. Okay, so you have 3 browns in there. I'd probably pick either of these two, just because they're a little bit richer looking. So it doesn't really matter which one. And I'm using like the tip or that little corner right there and pressing fairly hard. There's not a lot going in this little area, so we can have a little bit more pressure in here. So if you have any questions, make sure you ask in the chat roll there, and then Sandy can ask them for you. Now, I did suggest in the packet there, and you might just want to get yourself a couple of these Carbothello or whatever brand, it doesn't really matter. The pencils, they do come in handy. And I'm going to make the pupil with this black. And I'm going to just underline here. So definitely pressing pretty hard here. And so you want to make sure that you have the shape you want. You want to have that part there, so make sure you keep that. Okay. We want him looking intense, I think. Let's get the ultramarine blue. So there are 2 blues. Actually, there's 3 blues in this package. So we're going to go with this ultramarine blue, just that real pretty blue. And we are going to put that also in the body. And there really isn't, I'm trying to think of if there's an actual plan. You can go over the violet. So I'm on the side of the pastel again. And using pretty much the whole side there and just popping in some, maybe a bit here. So in the picture, photo 1 should show you should get an idea of where they are, where it's blue. Okay, so we're going to come along here at this cheekbone, I guess. So I am putting it on here, as if I would be doing all my furry things with that direction. If we were painting this or if we were doing it with pastel or pencils, you put them on the same way. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit on this shoulder too, but I'm trying not to lose too much of those lines, feathery type lines, because at the end, you do want that little look. You can see that it's not going to be quite as definite as the lines are right away at the beginning here, but by the end, you want a little bit of a hint of things, direction, feather, idea. Okay, so that looks pretty good there. Now, beak. Want to have that beak in. And you do want to make sure that you keep that shape. At least that curve. You want to make sure you keep this lip line here. So while we can, just sort of randomly throw colors all over the place, you do need to make sure that some things you keep so that you don't have to put the pattern back on and, do all that kind of stuff. All right. So I've got that little curve here, got that curve there. All right. That's not too bad. And we're going to be a little bit careful with the feet. So we're going to put in, and again, now I'm on this little point right here. We're not coloring everything. There we go. So you can get the nails in and just put enough on there. I guess maybe you think of a highlight idea. But again, that's another spot. There's the eye and the beak where you want to make sure that you're not going to be losing important information. Okay, so I can still see my 3 toes. I can still see that little nail. And there's a little something there. Just gonna leave that for now. Kind of sketchy. Okay, and then we're going to take the next blue, that iron blue, the darker one. And we're going to put more on the crow's body. Okay, so I guess pretty much, you're going to fill in the rest of them, I guess. Right? I don't know, can you hear all that thumping on the door? The kittens are all out there. And I think they're getting wound up for the evening, which is why they were chucked out, of course. Okay, so this is a nice blue also. Might not be quite as pretty as the ultramarine. Well, I can hear them. Sounds like they're breaking down the door. I'm going to just do a little bit at the top here too. I don't want my pattern line to be. So I want to cover it up a little bit there. All right. What do you think? I guess that's not too bad. There you go. This is his tail down there. And we're going to put that in now too. Just so we know. Just so we know where it is and we don't lose it.
Lydia, we can't hear you.
I'm mumbling.
There you are. Okay.
It's one of those things that I was, when you bite your tongue while you're coloring.
Got it.
Concentrating. I'm just concentrating too much there. All right, so we've got the tail in, we've got the bird going there. And now we are going to bring that cad yellow, the deep cad yellow, not the lemony. There's two yellows in your kit here, so take the deep cad. So we're not into the good fun pastels just yet. So we can start where we obviously know we want the yellow. And I'm pressing pretty hard again. Getting right in there and pressing because we want that to be pretty intense. Okay, and then when you're out here, use the side again and be a little bit careful when you come up close, and then use gay abandon when you're further away. And just sort of bring it back there.
Miss Carol has a question for you. She'd like to know what made you decide to do a crow.
Oh, well, I did have this photo in my stash. So he did come and visit me, this guy, not this year. But I thought it would be another one of those things that was a little bit different for people. And we got to use some great colors, so that makes it fun. And I know lots of people actually do like crows. It used to be one of those things, of course, that, think, oh, geez, nobody wants to paint a crow. But nowadays it seems like we do, we like them. They have interesting personalities. All right, so what else do I have? Just sort of following that photo one and putting it in. There we go. And then we will take pale vermilion, which is this orangey red, this one here, and we will fill in the rest of the background. And you can go over the yellow and leave some yellow and fill in the rest of it. And it's really good to be in the habit of varying your pressure. Even though I'm saying that I have fairly heavy pressure here, I'm doing a little bit more in some spots, a little bit less in other spots. Oh, hang on. You didn't tell us that we were supposed to plug in. I forgot to plug in. Sandy, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can. What did we forget?
You forgot to tell me to plug my phone in.
Oh, plug your phone in, please, Lydia.
Little sound kind of thing, and I thought,
did we lose you on some way?
But then did it disappear? Did my picture disappear at all?
No.
Okay, all right then. I just was quick on the draw there. Good thing I had a nap. All right, so here we go with this pale vermilion. I was just sort of telling my husband, you know, you have to do a couple of these. You can't leave too much space or time in between when you do them because you forget all the things that you're supposed to do. All right. Just get some color on there. Now, when I look at this, I see this outline of yellow, and that's a bad thing. So I'm just going to go in there and break that up right away. And you can see that I'm not really worrying about my crow. It's actually a good thing if you keep bumping one thing into another. There. That actually works out quite nicely, those two colors. So that's a good thing. All right, do I do anything? Blah, 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 blah. He's just sort of standing on a post of my fence here. So I didn't do a lot there. You can kind of see. See, it's just going to be a non-event, really, when we get into that part. So that's photo 1. Now we will pick out photo 2 and continue on. So we could go again with the pale vermilion. I don't know. I think I got enough there for now. So I'm going to just jump straight to this violet, and we're going to put in some of this. So we're going to do this kind of at the bottom. And so this time, I'm going to be a little bit more careful. Okay, so I press a little harder close by, and then I'm just turning the pastel, turning my whole arm and trying to get some other little patches going there. Trying not to obliterate everything that I've done there. Okay, so again, purple down here. Maybe a little bit up here too. And this one for sure you can bump into your crow because we have purple there anyways. And then as we get up, so when you do that, you kind of want to lift your hand up at the end of some of these strokes, and I'll just exaggerate. So just kind of lifting up so that you end up with a, you know, a gliding away at the, and then you end up with less, like just a little wee bit of glaze kind of. I will add a little bit of that pale vermilion on here because that's just getting to be a little bit too plain. And then if you, look at yours, it's going to be about your different layers as we go along. Okay, so I'm adding it the same way I did the purple, lifting up. And anywhere you think, just like to have a little bit more of that pale vermilion. You don't want any color to be just by itself with nothing else on top of it. There. All right. And then take your sepia. So that is the darkest of the browns. This one that's hanging out, a little bit foggy looking. And that one, we are going to do this base I was telling you about. So he's on that fence post knob. And you'll just put, you don't really need to do the whole thing like super even again. And we're going to just bring it into the background over top of that purple too. So now I've got pale vermilion down there and violet down there, and I've got this sepia down there too. And hopefully they're all working well together. Don't think I'll put any in that pretty yellow though. You can always add more later. We're just trying to, get a few things in and then we can go from there. So now we're going to this red-brown sanguine. That one right there. And you're going to add, it's going to go in the background because it's nice. Sometimes you have to let the not so pretty colors have a little chance at things. Okay, so just here and there, maybe you've got some of your black paper still showing and you just want to do a little something over top. And you can kind of see if you go in a different direction, it smooths things out just a little bit. All right. Try not to do too much of that. And we're going to put it on the crow too. I thought this was kind of cool, actually. You see how there's this little bit of fiery reddish? So, and we have, you can't just always use cool colors. Sometimes you've got to get in there and put a little bit of the warmer colors in there too. So that's down here. So I'm at that same sort of a stroke where I go shaky, 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 and then lift it up. And maybe working a little bit per direction, other direction. Okay, bring that up there. And remember how we were saying we've got some feathers here, so let's try to remember that. Let's put some up here at the neck. The fun thing about these black is we know they're going to be black, and we can put a whole bunch of colors in because we're going to put black over top, and then you can just adjust things a little bit and put just the amount of black in there to make it a black animal, but you can still get all these colors kind of showing through. That's the plan. That is the plan. So let's do a little bit of work on the head and beak. We're going to take the light blue now. It's light blue here. So let's see. We're going to following along with photo 2 now. So you see, I'm just reining it in. Very light touch here. Okay, and then hopefully you've still got the shape of your beak. I'm just shaking it back and forth, just using an edge. Not thinking about, making it smooth or anything, just trying to get it in the spot that I want it. Okay, so I like that shape. That's pretty good. And maybe I'll put a little bit here, but not too much. So step back and look at your beak and say yes or no. Hopefully it's yes. Okay, and we'll put a little lightness on the shoulders. And don't force it. Don't say, okay, now I'm using light blue. This has to be light blue. You're adding to what you've got already. Okay, so you should see the other colors. You're just lightening up those little patches there. All right, just have a look to see what's happening. All right, that's good. And now this is where you want to look at the photo and just pop in this light blue where you see it, because it doesn't super make sense. I can't say just do the tops or, so I've got it down the right-hand side, and then it comes down the bottom edge, and then it's on the top here. So you sort of see what I mean. I can't say just tops. It goes to the back. We've got a nail here. And if you don't know what to do, just leave it. Don't get too excited. Okay. We will get a little bit of shadowing in there too. So we're going to the dark blue. So right now we put the ultramarine blue on first, then we put the highlight in with light blue, and now we're going to put in some dark with iron blue. And this is a dark painting, right? So go right up here and join it into the body, and you can go further than you think. So it looks like it's going to go inside. And let's see, we're just going to go. We left some spots. Remember when we put the ultramarine blue in, that first blue, we didn't cover everything. So now we're making sure that everything is covered, either with the blue, this iron blue, which is at the bottom here, this particular guy. And you can kind of go into your other colors. Again, here at the bottom, because there's nothing there right now. And I'm kind of going around and around and around because they're little knobbly little shapes. And I'm trying to get them to blend a little bit at the same time. So it's not I don't have a big pressure on there. There we go. So you see, I've just kind of almost blended in that light blue so that it's not quite so stark, because it was a fairly stark color there. All right, that's good enough. That's all right. So this is where you get to do. I do with my fancy. Oh, there they are. So I've got the unisons, the little half sticks, and I've got a yellow orange, and I have an actual yellow as well. And if you're going to be going, if you did Carmen with me, you've got them already. And if you're thinking, oh, do I really want to, buy those? The answer is pretty much yes, but I'm going to give you another reason. I did use them again in the chicken, showing a bit of leg, and this is the convention piece, because I figure if you've gone through the effort to actually buy these little puppies, you kind of want to have, other opportunities to use them. So for Carmen, it was, you really did have to. You couldn't do it without. This one, maybe you could do it without, but let's see. So mine is a funny bunch of different shapes. And that's okay, because I'm going to use this little piece here for in the eye. And You could use your maul stick for this. Keep yourself steady. And you're going to put it in the eye at the back. Okay. So I'm just taking little tiny strokes, nice and carefully, starting from the back of the eye and bringing it towards the front and hopefully fading off. So it doesn't come all the way, it just comes and fades off. And oh, just because it's just so nice. So now I'm flipping it around. Look at that, eh? Oh my goodness. That is, and now these are a lot softer. So if you thought that you were using a soft touch before, whoa, you really have to make it even softer when you put these guys on. And I didn't say this for photo 2, but once you've got them in your hand, it's really hard not to love them. Okay, so just putting them in there, trying not to get too carried away, but it's very difficult not to. And this side's been bugging me anyway, so I'm going to use that as an excuse. And so it's important to turn your pastel, especially when you're doing these kinds of backgrounds, to turn your whole arm there. I can hear you say, ooh, those look great. Hopefully that's what you're saying.
Eva is saying they look yummy.
Yes, very yummy. That's the perfect color, that perfect word. So let's just have a look at our eye. Do you like the shape of it? I think I like the shape of mine. Maybe I can tip it down here a little bit in the front. I mean, you want him to look serious. Well, maybe you want him to look mean as well. I'm not sure. Okay, so I just kind of like it slightly tipped at the front. And we're going to put the lip line in. Again, we're just trying not to lose some of these details. I mean, it's not as much detail as we get with colored pencil, but you do need some things, right? I mean, I don't know what I'm doing here. You know how they always have those little fluffy things that come over their beaks? We want this line here, and then if you look at photo 2, there's this little line that, or little shape there. Okay. I think he looks like he has a sense of humor, but he's enjoying his stern look. Hey, don't you think that might be? That's what I'm going for. Now we get to play with that background for just a little bit. So I've already gone ahead and done yellow orange to get the brighter orange patches because I couldn't not. And then I'm going to do the yellow. Basically the same thing. Right. So play with your touch. Sort of ease into it a little bit. And don't just stay where you've got yellow at the very, very beginning. Explore the shapes a little bit. Bring it up this way. You can always bring those other colors back. And in fact, it looks better if you do bring them back. I'm going to try not to outline him like I did at the very, very beginning. So I don't want to make some of the mistakes that are fine at the beginning, but then, now you want to make sure that you are doing what you want.
Lydia,
Yeah.
if someone doesn't have vermilion in their set, what would you suggest?
So does that mean that you have that 36?
Yes.
Yeah, so they just called it something else. Scarlet, I think. I
Okay.
don't know why they did that, because it's very confusing, but it's almost identical. Yeah, so that's the one you would use.
Thank you.
Yeah. They just did that to make sure we were on our toes. Okay. All right, so I just kind of want a little bit of yellow. So these are pings, I guess, right? They're just your nice bright. I got a little carried away up there, but I'm trying to just place my yellows. Right. I think that's about right. Now, I did put a little something on this post. I think I did that sort of afterwards, thinking, oh, well, you need to have the post show a little bit. Okay. Well, if you think you need a little bit more of that orange, so, I mean, is the answer ever no? Of course we need more of this orange. So a light touch again. Remember, just keep it light. And I'll bring it around his head just a little bit there too. And remember what I said, don't just stay where you think you have it the first time, kind of go into the purple a little bit, go into some of those other colors, because then they make more colors and you have more depth. And so you see, I had all that purple. I'm thinking, just pop a little bit of the orange on top. And then we'll see what we're going to do. And we're going to see what we're going to do. So we got the yellow in there, we got the orange, and now back to the not so yummy, but we can handle it. We've got the sanguine which we put in there. We've got the violet, which we put in the background there too. And we have this pale vermilion. So usually when I'm doing my other pastels I just use unisons or, some of those other softer pastels. What I do with the hard ones is I use them to smooth. Now, sometimes you think, well, I'll just put my finger in there. And, obviously that works too. But sometimes you just get a little carried away when you put your finger in. And it does work very nicely if you smooth with a hard pastel. Okay, so I personally quite enjoy the violet. And the violet over top of the orange works really well. But use all of them, because we did use them all at the beginning. And if you think, oh, no, I don't have any of that orange will go back over top like you wouldn't believe. So don't feel like if you, especially if you're coming from colored pencil and you think, oh, I put the dark on and now there's no way I'm going to get the light and the bright. Yes, you are. You're going to get that just fine. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing. Just sort of smooth things out a little bit. I'm trying to figure out what paper I use this time. It might be a U art. For the first one, I used that pastel matte. And I think that's why I'm getting this little striping. It's not bad. It's okay. It's just going to be something else that's going to be there. Okay, so on this side, I put the pale vermilion on first, and then I did the violet. This side, I've done the violet first, and now I'm doing the pale vermilion. And it both works. It works just fine. Okay, so if you are using a UART, and the other thing to do is make sure that you step back so that things that bother you when you're right up on top of things like this, they all goes together. When you step back. All right. And I guess technically you could go back to your yellow. No. If you're going to go back to your yellow, use this one. Because now that we've had a taste of the good life, it's so hard to go back to the little foggy colors. Okay, so I'm just. And I would just go over things a couple of times. It's so much fun. You can just do this and not do the curl. And if you can't stand it and you think, oh, I just have to touch it with my finger, you can, sometimes I just kind of press it like that and just give it a little tiny, don't get in there and go like this, because then you're taking all those beautiful pastels and smushing them all up into one thing. And that's not what we want. And I think my other one was quite a bit oranger. So, see, I could just go again and again and again. All right, so, but we already know that Sandy runs a pretty tight ship. So I'm going to finish up the crow before we run.
You're a funny girl.
Okay? We don't want you just to go, that's it, you're done.
Oh, you got plenty of time. We're doing great.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So then let's just check out this base. I'm going to put that pale vermilion on there. Any of the colors will work fairly nicely. It's going to be wood. Okay, so maybe you could use the sanguine as well. Don't want to make it too pretty. And you don't want to develop it too much either. I'm just going to put a little something here at the back, at the bottom. Okay, so I'm starting to like that now. I think you need to do it 2 or 3 different times, really. So we had that first set, and then we went back. Remember, I started here, and now I'm again, and I'm finally thinking, yeah, this is now, it's interesting. I've got lots of colors and little blotches, but at the same time, I like it a little bit on the smooth side too. So, that's why I'd like to do it a couple of times. And we are now going to do black. Let's just get a decent size black. And we're just going to start bringing him back a little bit. So let's start underneath, right in here. Some areas will be blacker than others. And I'm on this corner here, this edge. Okay, so I am on the side, and I've got this big long edge right here. And I'm just seesawing it back and forth. Okay, and I try not to make it too crisp on the edge. A bit of a fuzzy edge. Try not to do too much black right off the bat. Try to just ease into it. We do know we want it fairly black around the eye. In front of the eye. Okay, so he's looking pretty good. Now above the eye, we actually want it to be dark there too. So I have to sort of turn my pastel around a little bit and find the edge that's going to do just that little piece. There's a little bit of eyeliner. And let's see, we're going to just bring it into this. Remember how we were sort of fussing about in this little section down here? We're going to just put a little bit of black in there too. Okay, and up. So kind of a light touch as I'm just kind of putting these little shake, 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 shake. Now, don't really think, okay, now it needs to be black, let's make it black. You just getting some texture, getting some lines going. Now in this area here, you can be a little bit bigger strokes. Thinking about the body. You know, the way it might shape. Remember, we have this cheekbone too, and we want to keep a little something there. So you can go over top of that blue. So it just peeks through. Same on the back of his head. Remember how I was saying, don't be so, okay, this has to be black, I have to stay in the lines. A little bit of a fuzzy edge is actually a nicer thing. And we have some of the background colors in the black. And so that's going to help make it, it's going to make everything go together as opposed to a cutout. We cut out a piece of black paper and put it on a fun background. All right, so then, you know, that's going to be all kind of black. Like that. And we will go over to this wing. You guys are a quiet bunch. No questions? Anybody doing it?
Nope, we've answered all the questions so far.
Maybe there's nobody there.
Oh no, they're there. You've got a good crowd.
Because the banging and the thrashing seems to be less. All right, so I'm just, again, just kind of taking that and putting some black on. without obliterating everything. Neat.
So the word from the gallery is that it's amazing. They are fascinated by your technique. They are totally enthralled. It's absolutely fascinating. Soaking it all in. So good, a lot of good feedback.
So you can see I'm doing a little bit of detail work down here. Just getting a few, just to make it interesting, right? We don't really want to have it so even that it's not an interesting shape. And same with on this side too. We've got a little stray feather here. We have a little shape. You know, think about little things like that. And then another little stray feather. And those are pretty crispy. That's a pretty crisp line. And I can see this edge. And I can see this edge. Okay, so I'm just kind of starting at the outer end and lifting up my pastel as I finish off the stroke. So it's very clear here. And then as I lift it up, I just have a little bit of a skimp of black over top of my other colors. All right, what do I want to do there? What do I want to do there? I think it's black under the blue. And again, it's so good. If I, get it in the wrong spot, I can definitely put the blue back over top. All right, and this is just get her done. You almost want to go get a unison black for this too, eh? Just to kind of, if you're working along with me and you've got a unison for the background and how beautiful and creamy and nice they were to just cover, might be nice for a black of this one. We're in trouble. Once you get a little taste of those fun ones. All right, so I'm just shaping the little foot here a little bit more. Just wanted to have a little more of an ankle. And I think that's fine there. Let's put a little bit of black under. Can you, maybe you can't see the, I know it didn't quite fit on the, okay, but I did give you a detail of the feet in there too. So we're going to put a little bit of black, just shake a little bit. Just to kind of ground him. There we go. Kind of get this side done too. All right, let's see what we're going to do here. We're going to bring this up. So don't forget, you can have one of those. I don't know if you've heard, lots of people like to throw all the words around, and lots of people have taken other kind of art classes, but there's lost edges. So here, where I'm doing the dark, and it can go up into the foot. And then you can't tell where the toe ends and the shadow begins. And that's okay. That's what they call a lost edge. Just can't quite see it. Okay, and then I'm just kind of darkening at the little top. Like a lot of these principles of where you put the darks and things like that, it's all the same from acrylic to pencil to paint. Right, just very, very gently, just kind of shake over top. And then it gives a little bit of a darkness to the bottom. Let's see, this is a funny looking toe. Well, bird toes. They're kind of, there we go. Don't really want to see them anyways, do we? Because they're kind of weird. I do like this though. Don't you think that looks nice? As it goes up into the body. All right. So we've got the black in there. We've got a little something everywhere. And now we're going to use this little pool noodle insulation, pipe insulation, because we want him to be black with bits of color. Now you might see that as to be a little bit more blue than it actually is. He's pretty black there. And then I can see parts of my purples and my blues. And then of course, this is that sanguine down here. So we want to get this done a little bit quicker. So we're taking this pool noodle and we are just rubbing a little bit with that direction that we established with our black to begin with. Just remember, when you're doing these kind of blending techniques, you don't want to get right in there and get the whole thing one color. And you don't want to lose the texture of him. Oh, see, now that's working out quite nicely there. Because I put more black on, so I have more to work with. Down here, I was rushing and I, didn't have that much. So I'm just kind of getting in there, a little short, little back and forth. So when you do a blending technique, you have to take as much care with that as you do with everything else. Don't let the brain go for coffee. All right. And you just want to be a little bit careful, of course, up close to your yellow. Although that yellow can go over top. So we're looking good. All right, step back, have a little look. Now we haven't done anything on the tail, and basically we're not going to do anything on that tail. And I think I basically hate that too, so that's going to have to come out. I'm a little bit too sloppy there. Okay, so and that's why an easel actually is a good thing. Just kind of step back, have a little look, lean in, and okay. I'm just gonna go here too. There we go. Good. I'm gonna leave that for now. And then we can, add a bunch of things. So I actually use some pink matter. Where did I use that? Okay. Because the thing is that when you, so pink and purple and blue, they kind of all go nicely together. And if you're in this light area, it doesn't really matter if you use light blue or, your pink marker. Just sometimes you want to do something a little bit different. Okay, so you just kind of pull in that. If you use the same color all the time, it's not as exciting. Okay, so I'm just going to a little bit brightness there. And let's do that down here on the feet too. Maybe you hate this. That's fine. If you want to just do your light blue again, you could. But notice how I'm not doing everything exactly the same. So I'm just picking out a few little spots. Okay, and what the heck, let's put a little something up here on the beat too, because we've had some blue in there before. Okay, I don't think we'll put too much in there, but you could do your light blue again. Don't know. I think mine is light enough. Maybe a little bit down here. I say that. I say I'm not going to do it, and then I do it. A little bit here on the bottom beak. And then we can take this ultramarine blue, which was, I think, the original color. And that's where you can just seesaw back and forth, and that's going to blend because you have a nice light touch. Okay, so now we've got that. You didn't tell me you couldn't see the beak. I'm working
You beat me to it, that's why.
Oh dear. Okay, so what I did down there is I just did a very, very light touch, not really putting pastel on. You're using this one as the blender. Because the thing with blending, so everybody loves to blend these soft pastels, but if you get in there, especially with these nice soft ones, and you blend with a tool, a lot of it falls off. And well, of course, you don't want to do that because they're pretty expensive pastels. So you need to find some other ways to do the blending because we do like soft. We do like it nicely blended. So that's why getting one of your pastels does the trick. Okay, I'm finding, I think this is too, I don't like this line going from here all the way down. So I'm going to take the black and kind of make that line disappear a little bit. Okay, so when you're on these finishing touches, very light touch, very light touch. If you think you went too far, just take the next one and come back and make it a little bit bluer. But you see, I wanted that to disappear. And I think you can still see that I have a lip. but it doesn't go all the way. And I also don't like, this is a little bit too pointed. I want it to be a little bit rounded. They don't have a super pointy beak. Okay, and then that's the pale vermilion. I tend to grab that one just mostly because I like it. I like that color. So I put in a little pinkish there. So I'm going to come down here and put it somewhere else. You know, to pretend that I planned it all along. All right, what else do we see? Do we see anything else that we want to do? Any comments? I'm going to lighten up right here. Maybe just a little bit below. A little bit brightness right here. This is light blue. That's not too bad. It's still there. If you got it right the very, very first time, that's actually a bad thing. So I'm going to put the ultramarine blue on. Then I'm going to put a little bit of black again. And maybe I'll come back and add the light blue. So, you know, don't do it right the first time. Yeah. You might be looking a little bit cranky. I want a little bit of a shadow in the front of that eye. And I think I'm going to do that with our little pencil here. Although you can see it just doesn't have the power. Which is why, again, you think you want to have a lot, like the pointiness of the pencil, but oh man, it just doesn't do the color. So you have to weigh one thing against the other. The eye's too big. There you go. And let's put in that sparkle because we all love sparkles. Okay, here we go, one more stick. And this is a real press hard. What do we think? That's all right. I'm just going to put a little tiny bit of white here, not as hard. Don't want it to be as bright as that, but I could have it a little bit brighter there. Okay. Let's see. We want to add more black. We could. You work it back and forth. I really, really, really liked this bit of sanguine down here. It's like a real reflected light or something. Where's my black? All right, so we'll just put another coat of black on. Remember, I was saying that I don't like this. Now, if you're going to be going over top of black, like I am, you do have to make sure that you don't pick up. There we go. You see how ugly that is in comparison? What do I want? Do I want yellow or do I want yellow orange? Probably that yellow orange. So I can get it in place with the new pastels, and then I can come back over it and just get it that nice, vibrant. All right, that looks better. I think that looks much better. See, and then you can just press with your finger. If you think, oh, gee, I went too far, it's not blending nicely, just press gently with your finger and don't get in there with your pool noodle and make it all smooshy. Try to leave some edges. Yeah, so I could do a little bit more in the background, obviously, just to kind of smooth things out, but I think you get the idea. Put the black in. And I quite like the blue and that bit of violet. And then you can start to make maybe a little bit more lines, like a little bit of a drawing, mark making kind of a thing.
Lydia, we do have a request. Is it possible to push back a little bit so they can see the full picture of him?
I don't think you can get everything.
Oh, that's better.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, when I do a tall one, the cameras, yeah, they don't like it quite as good. Okay, so basically I'm just fussing here now, right? I'm making a little things a little bit lighter, a little bit darker. Press. Do I like the eye? You know, if you don't like one color, just chuck it back in the bin and pick another one. Put on a little bit of light, come back, sort of blend it with this mid-value ultramarine. This is a little stripy, don't you think? So I could take my ultramarine and just make it a little bit wider and not so stripy. And then I can take my black back. Well, I think other than just fussing with it, you know, like I would go back and I would try to kind of get those things to blend up a little bit and so on. I think we're pretty much there, wouldn't you say?
He looks very handsome and very striking. So yes. What a wonderful piece. Everyone has just been totally enthralled and amazed at the creation of him.
That's good. Yeah, I thought it was kind of fun. You know, fall colors are so inspiring, and the black against the fiery background, it's a lot of fun. There you go. That's it for me. That is
wonderful. Well, folks, before we leave tonight, I'd like to share with you what's coming up in the next couple of weeks. We have a few more wonderful Watch, Learn, and Creates, including another one from Miss Lydia. So what we have coming up, actually, let me get us on the screen here so you can see us all.
There we go. There you are.
There I am. Okay, let's get you on there too. Yay! We'll put the crow on there too, because you know he's important.
He is handsome, yes.
There we go. We have coming up on the 19th, we have Deb Antonick, and she's doing her angels. We
Very nice.
have a show and tell coming up as well, which on the 21st, you'll get a chance to see the artist and what they have coming up for upcoming classes and retreats and such, including the Artful Webinars 2023 convention. So you'll want to join us for that. That's on the 21st. On the 22nd, we have Karen Beaupre doing an ink demonstration. That'll be fun. On the 28th, we have Amy Mogish doing her country pear. And then in November, we've got a whole lineup. We've got Amanda Dorier doing an ornaments demo. We've got Amy Mogish doing a candy cake. Deb Antonick is going to surprise us with something fun.
Yeah, so
Miss Lydia will be doing Gunther the cat on the 11th. And he's the little guy in the right hand corner there. Yep, that one.
and
right
don't
there.
forget the prep video is up there on my page, on
Good
my
reminder
website. Go to my website.
on the website. Okay.
We'll
We'll
put a
make sure
link.
that,
Yeah, we'll put a
in-
link. I'll tell everybody on Facebook.
And then we have on the 16th, Miss Mary Jabalesko, and on the 18th, we'll be doing Christmas cards with Mary and Lorianne. So we've got a good lineup coming up for you all. And let's see, I want to make sure there's no more questions. Nope, just a bunch of great comments. You'll want to go back to that video. So
Thank you,
until
everybody.
next time, folks,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us, Lydia. Thank you for imparting such wisdom when it comes to pastels. A lot of good tips and learning information tonight. So thank you all. Have a great night.